When George is 15 years old, his sister is 8 years old, and his father is 45 years old. And we're asked, how old will George's sister be when George is half his father's age? Now, obviously, this is a question about age, and there's something that you need to realize when you do questions about age. Often, when people approach these questions for the first time, they get them wrong because they forget something really important. Now, let's have a look. Let's explore something. Let's imagine we've got a boy and he is age 10, and we have his younger sister, a girl, is aged 8. Now, what is the difference between their ages? Well, the difference is 2. Okay. Imagine the next year. Okay. In the next year, so this is year 1. Okay. And this is year 2 that we're considering. How old is the boy going to be? He's going to be 11. And how old is his sister going to be? Well, she's going to be 9. Now, what is the difference between their ages? Well, that remains constant. That's also 2. And let's double check for the next year. So we've got the next year. How old is the boy now? Well, he's aged 12. His sister is aged 10. And what's the difference between their ages? Again, it's 2 years. So it seems really obvious, but it's something that lots of people forget when they get a problem like this. The difference between the individual's ages will remain the same. Okay, so that's something to think about as you approach this question. Okay, so we're asked, so it says when George is 15 years old, his sister is 8 years old, and his father is 45 years old. And how old will George's sister be when George is half his father's age? Now we have to think about what we want to draw here. I'm going to draw, let's say we've got a bar for the sister. We've got a bar for George, and we've got a bar for his father. Now I'm going to do something a little peculiar here, and I will explain why in a minute. I'm going to start my bar around here somewhere. Okay. In fact, I'm going to do it here. We're going to draw something arbitrary for the sister, and this represents 8. Okay. How old is George? We've got that George is 15. I'm going to draw a bar here, and this is going to represent George's age at 15. Okay. And then I'm going to draw a bar for his father. And let's say he's a fair bit older. And this represents the 45. Okay, so this here is 45. Okay. Now, as with the other bar models that I've done, I like to have some parts that are of equal value. And we are sort of comparing, it's George and his father here. I want to have a look at, let's split the father's age up so that we've got the 15 that equals George's age. What will that make this part? Well, if that's 15, this is 45, that must be 30. And this is going to help us visualize what would need to happen or what we need to add, how many years we need to add on till we get to this situation where George is half of his father's age, because he's not half his father's age yet, is he? So let's have a look at this. These two parts are the same, okay? And George's father has got this 30. Now, the reason why I started these bars off all the way here is because it's going to be easier for me to add these extra years on here so that I can get to a situation where what George has is half of what George's father has. So what would we need to add? Okay, well, he's got 15 already. Okay. His father's got an extra 30. And we're going to, well, obviously, for every year that George gets older, we're going to add a year for his father as well. But how many years would we need to add until George would have half of what his father has? Okay. And hopefully you could see that we would need to add, if we added 15 years, okay, to this. Okay, I'm going to use a different color. If we added 15 here and 15 here, I know this looks like it's going backwards, but it's just so that I can show you this model. If this is 15 and this is 15, because everyone's getting older 1 year, everyone gets older 1 year each year. This at 30, this is now 30, and this 15 and 15 and 30 is now 60. And we can see that this is half of this. Okay, so that's one way we could do it. And because we've added 15 here and 15 here, we're going to add 15 here. And the reason we've done that is because this is the question that we're asked. It's how old will George's sister be when George is half his father's age? And that is this part here. 15 add 8, which is 23. So that is our answer. Now, this actually is really quite a tricky bar model, I think. And I think you'd have to have a fair bit of experience before you thought to draw something like this. So another way that you might have approached this problem is just simply to make yourself a little table. So we've got, we want to have a situation where we've got George at 15 and we've got his father is 45. And remember what we said at the beginning, that everyone is going to age 1 year every year. And we want to keep adding years until we get to a situation where this number, where George is half of George's father. Okay. Now, so for example, if I've got 16, let's say I add 16, this is going to be 46. I'm still a long way off George being half his father's age. So I'm actually going to jump up in increments. So let's go from 15. It's going to be easier to go in fives, and then I can adjust. So when George is 20, I've added 5. Dad's going to be 50. Let's go 25. So I'm adding another 5 here and another 5 here. That's going to be 55. We're getting closer, aren't we? I'm going to add another 5. So that's 30 and that's 60. And look, now I can see that this number is half of this number. And what have I added from 15 to 30? Okay, I've added, that's plus 15. So again, I know to add 15 to this 8. So that's another way that I could have solved this problem. I didn't necessarily have to draw the model, but if that's something that was where I felt that I could draw it and get an idea of what was going on, that is definitely a good way to do it.